Welcome to Wild Heart Yoga Tribe. My name is Jay, and today I'm going to be taking you through my daily routine. These are little movements that just set me up for success, whether I'm going into a practice, whether I'm going to go to the gym and exercise, or if you just want to loosen up for the day ahead of you. So the first thing I always do is just a few moments of stillness where I get to know myself, I get to connect to my breath, and this is really where I just collect the information that I'm going to need to know where my body, where my mind, where my heart, and where my soul are at. So hands can face any direction you need, but if you already know how you're feeling, here's a couple suggestions for you. If you're ready to let something go, palms face down. If you're ready to receive something, palms face up. If you want to connect to yourself, hands to heart. And if you want to connect outside of yourself, hands to your third eye. Find a place that connects to you. Close your eyes. Know that you can always mix and match. And then just start to breathe. In through the nose and out through the nose. If you're having a really hard time finding focus, maybe just tap into the elements around you. Noticing what you hear and what you smell, what you taste. Notice what you see, whether your eyes are open or closed. And just take a deep breath in and deep breath out. Eyes open. If you have more time, I'd really encourage you keep meditating a little bit longer. Maybe that's how you finish this class off. But for now, let's take your right hand just above your left ear and lightly let your head fall over. You'll notice I'm not cranking my neck. I'm not forcing myself into this position. I just want to start around 50%. Now, as you breathe, you'll feel it rolling up and down your neck. Notice if you feel it more towards the ear or more towards your shoulder. If you'd like a bit more sensation, you could reach your left fingertips out to the mat. And if you'd like a little bit more than that, you could even hover your left arm. Make sure that you're not leaning forward or back. And just keep a consistent breath, rolling up and down your neck. We carry a lot of stress in our shoulders and our neck, especially if you work at a desk. This could be a great little morning routine before you start any paperwork or typing. And just take one more breath in. Then exhale, release your hands. Lift your head. Then on your exhale, tuck your chin. So engaging our Jarandhara throat lock. You'll notice I'm still sitting up tall. Two options. Option one is Dandasana hands. I'll press my palms down. I actively pull my shoulder blades back. Layer two, I'm going to interlace my fingers behind my head and let my arms put a little extra pressure. This should feel really nice on the back of your neck. Just make sure that you don't start to hunch or still sitting up really tall. You should find your inhales really natural. So really focus on slow exhales, getting rid of everything that is in your lungs. We'll just take one more breath in. As you exhale, release your arms. Inhale, lift your head. And we'll do the other side. So this time the left hand comes over your right ear. Let your head just fall over. Same options as last time. So you can have your fingertips out to the floor or even hover your right arm. Notice the difference between both the right side and left sides of your body. Oftentimes there is quite a big difference. Just honor those differences. And with each breath, Just allow yourself to relax into this, release into it. Take one more breath in. And exhale, release your arms. You now sit up nice and tall. On your exhale, just fold over your crossed legs. Maybe you can place your elbows to the mat. Some of us will be able to place our head all the way down to the floor. If you're not quite at that point, if you have a block, you could put your head on a block or just let your head hang. This is one of the few times that I actively encourage you to allow your spine to round. Breathing into our lower lumbar and your hip flexors. This would be really nice if you are suffering from lower back pain. This is also a very symbolic posture. It's probably one of the only times in our day-to-day lives that we're going to bow. This represents a total surrender. Whenever our palms face down, it represents letting go or releasing. So maybe think about something you're ready to let go of today. If you want a little bit more, walk your hands farther forward. It's also said that the back of your heart is where we receive our love. So whatever you're letting go of, whether it's pain or fear, expectations, or an old belief, imagine that there's a loving hand on the back of your heart and that we're replacing whatever we're letting go with something more positive. So if you're letting go of fear, you'd receive courage. If you're letting go of pain, you'd receive comfort, and so on and so on. As you inhale, lift your chin, come onto your fingertips. On your exhale, walk your hands as far to the right as is comfortable for your body. Make sure that you're not lifting your left hip. So arms are going to stay active. Head might relax down to the floor or your knee. If you'd like a little bit more, come back onto your fingertips. And if you can comfortably reach, maybe your left hand comes on top of your right hand. You should feel this from your ribs, all the way from your armpit down to your hip. Deep breaths. And as you inhale, lift your head. As you exhale, walking over to the left. And then folding again. Arms stay active. And just doing the same options with your hands if accessible. And as you inhale, sitting ourselves back up, we're going to take your hands behind you and we're going to plant your feet out in front of you. Now your fingers can face any direction, but there is a benefit if their fingers are facing forward. We're going to inhale into a reverse tabletop. I love this posture because it's one of the few motions that gives us strength in our chest and at the same time flexibility. Usually in a plank or inversions, we're kind of rounding forward. Here, as we press into our palms, we're opening up the chest. Try to tuck your tail and lift your tail through your legs, lifting our hips, pressing equally through your toes and your heels. Take a deep breath in. And on your exhale, we're going to sink your hips towards your heels. Let your hips come all the way down to the mat, and then bend your elbows. Lift your heart. You should feel this all the way across the front of your chest. And it can be quite an intense stretch, especially if you're a huncher or if you're in the gym, pressing really heavy weights, always leaning forward. I call it the T-Rex effect. We want to open up our heart. So deep breaths. Every time you exhale, bend your elbows and wrap them in. Every time you inhale, puff out your chest. You can either tuck your chin or let your head fall back, whatever is more comfortable for your neck. As you know, pick up your hips, sit back, cross your legs, roll forward onto your hands, onto your knees, tabletop position. Let's just start to make some circles on your wrist. This is more for your circulation. Just get the blood pumping. Start off with small circles, and gradually our circles want to get wider and wider so that your shoulders and your hips can get involved. Find the sticky bits. Once you're at your widest circles, switch directions, starting with our widest circles and gradually making your way back to our smaller circles. Feel your palms, your knuckles, and your fingertips. Feel the inside of your wrist and the outside of your wrist. And then as you come back to stillness, and there's no rush, take some extra time if you need, we'll turn our hands side to side so that your wrists are facing each other. And then we're just going to start to rock side to side. We never want to force a stretch, but getting uncomfortable isn't a bad thing. So the rule of our body is you have to use it or you'll lose it. It's a process known as osteoplast or osteoblast. So here we're putting a little bit of extra stress on our wrist, just giving them that signal, hey, get a little bit stronger, be a little bit more supportive. If it hurts, back off. If it feels good, move your wrist a little bit closer together. Eventually they'll kiss, but don't make them kiss, right? We're here to work with our body, not against our body. Keep rolling the shoulder blades back, really tempting to hunch here. And then let's turn our hands around, fingers facing towards your knees. You can either sit still, feel your forearms, maybe you rock forward and back. I love dynamic movement. I have a really tight body, so I find these little movements always help me loosen up. Eventually, you'll be able to lean back and lift your palms. Once again, listen to your own body rather than copying my own body. All right, this is my favorite wrist stretch. We're gonna flip your hands upside down, fingers facing towards your knees. If this is really intense, then just use one hand at a time. I'll tell you when to switch your hands. But if you can, do both hands at the same time. Wrap your elbows in. Maybe you rock forward and back. This is really decompressing for your wrist. And then a little challenge, if you want it, is try to make a fist. And this is one of the few times you'll notice that your hands try to open up. That's because the tight of your hands can often be really tight. If you need to switch hands, now would be the time. Find your breath. I always say meditation isn't for when it's quiet. It's not for when you're already at peace. It's for when you're in chaos. When the world's falling apart, when your wrists are screaming at you, that's when we need to tap into our breath and find some mindfulness, some love, and then finally finding some peace. All right, release your hands. Sit back into your yogi toe squat. Toes are tucked under. Take your hands lightly together and then just start to roll them every direction. Forward, back, side to side. Switch the awkward hand on top, the hand you normally wouldn't use, and then keep rolling your hands every direction. Notice if this is a little bit more challenging or awkward to do, we need both of our hands to be equally functional. Once you're feeling pretty loose, release your hands, give them a little bit of a shake out. Come back onto your hands and knees, and then let's come into our downward facing dog. In your down dog, press your heart towards your knees. Don't be afraid to bend your knees. Focus first on a long spine. You might walk out your dog, bend one knee, then the other knee. I like to lift both my heels and then lower my heels a few times. Good, and now lift your right leg high and then cross your right leg behind your left leg so that your pinky toes are right next to each other. Press up through your bottom leg, press down through your top leg, and you should feel your hamstring and your calf start to talk to you. It can be really tempting to start shifting forward into a plank shape. Keep your down dog shape. And now lift your right leg high. And on your exhale, step outside of your right hand for our lizard lunge. Good, and then just sway your hips side to side You can go forward and back. Find your breath. Hips are a ball socket, which means they're meant to move in many different directions, but often we use them like a hinge. So I like to give my body a little bit of a warning that we're gonna open up our hips. Step back into your down dog. Inhale, lift your left leg. Exhale, cross it behind your right, pinky toe to pinky toe. Same thing, push up through the bottom leg, push down through your top leg, heart towards your knees. Deep breaths. Pump the blood into the places that feel really tight, really tense. And now lift your left leg high. Exhale to your lizard lunge. Step outside of your left hand. Shift side to side. Forward and back. Be organic here. Move how you gotta move. Beautiful. Now let's step your right foot outside of your right hand, setting up for our frog squat malasana. This is like one of the best things you can do for your hips. So if you're having a really hard time, you can have your heels lifted, but eventually we want the ankle flexibility to have our heels planted. So first of all, place your hands down, lift your heart. This will be a little bit harder to do, but it's a nice way of just telling our spine to sit up tall. Relax your shoulders, put a little bit of pressure in your elbows to your thighs. Keep trying to lift your heart and sink your tail. And think we want to be in our heels more than our toes. So if you can lift your toes even if it's just a little bit. Awesome, now we'll take our hands to our heart and we'll start to wedge our knees a little bit wider apart. Find your breath, maybe find your meditation again. Awesome, we're gonna plant your left hand. And now lift your right hand high, expanding frog. Notice if you start to shift really far over to the left, we want to stay between our heels. Open up the heart. Take a deep breath in. On your exhale, you're going to take your right hand in between your thigh and your hip. You're going to hook your right elbow to the inside of your right leg. Now this can also be a quite intense shoulder opener. So, take it softly, take it slow. If it feels good, you can take your left hand onto your left knee and do a little bit of an extra twist. Find your breath. And now expand that right arm up again. And exhale, release. And now lift your left arm high. Expanding frog. Keep sinking through the hips. Keep lifting through the heart. Then we're going to take this left hand in between your hip and your ribs. Good. Light pressure of my elbow coming into my leg. Find your breath. If it feels okay, maybe right hand to right knee and we do a little bit of a twist. If you feel okay, maybe it's even starting to feel good, you could do both arms. I don't know what the official name of this posture is. I just call it chicken wing arms. Breathe. Good, release your arms. And then we're gonna take your left hand to your left knee. As you inhale, push yourself away from your knee. As you exhale, bend your elbow again. Inhale, extend. Exhale, release. Inhale. And exhale. Do that a few more times. What we're doing is really starting to actively get into your hip flexor, also into your obliques, your rib cage. Good, let's switch sides. So I inhale, press away, and I exhale, release. And here we're really working with the elasticity of your side body muscles. We're just coaxing our body to open up rather than just forcing it to. Good, last two. Last one. Come back to center, deep breath in. On your exhale, wide leg, forward fold. This will be one of our last stretches. You can take it as narrow or as wide as you want. Lean into your toes. Hands can be on the ground. You can put your elbows onto the ground. You could take both hands to one leg. Whatever you do on one side, make sure that you spend an equal amount of time. So you could stay in any one of these postures. You can mix and match like I am. Maybe take your arms through your legs. If you're really tight and this isn't feeling that great, bend one knee and then the other knee just to build some heat in your hamstrings. But of course, keep breathing in and out through your nose. And then we'll come back into a seated position. Sit up nice and tall, relax your shoulders. And we'll end the same way that we began. Maybe your hands are in the same place, or maybe you want to find a different place. Close your eyes, take a few breaths. Notice what's changed, what's still the same. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit more prepared for your practice, your workout, or your day, whatever it is that you're getting ready for. Can you go out and do it with mindfulness, with compassion, with love? We take one last deep breath in. As we exhale, we bow to each other, saluting. Namaste.